Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, so welcome all of you to the second unit of Bhaktivedanta course. We are grateful to you for coming again. So we'll begin with the third chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. That is, Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So just to briefly recap, so the sages of Naimisharanya, they're performing a 1,000-year sacrifice, and after Sutta Goswami was elected or selected by Lord Balaram to continue speaking on the scriptures, then Sutta Goswami begins to speak, and the sages ask 6 questions. So anybody remembers the 6 questions of the sages? I think so, that was one of your questions, right?
Yeah.
So the first question was, yes, what is the ultimate and absolute good for humanity at large? Second?
What is the essence of?
Yes, what is the essence of all scriptures? Third?
What is the purpose of Krishna's appearance?
Purpose of Krishna's appearance from Vasudeva and Devaki. Fourth?
What are the guna avatars?
Okay, the activities of the Lord or adventures of the Lord in relation to creation. So the Guna avatars. Fifth? Yes, Leela avatars. And the sixth?
What shed
What happened?
Okay, fine. So here the third chapter is answer to which question? Yes, the fifth question. So this third chapter is the answer to the fifth question about various Leela avatars. And Sutta Goswami first of all begins by speaking about the Purusha avatars. So the first 5 verses describing the Purusha avatars. Then 6 to 27 is 22 incarnations of God. 28th verse is the famous Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam verse. And there's also some Falashruti after that. And the last section from 40 to 44, Sutta Goswami glorifies Bhagavatam as the incarnation of Krishna and describes how the Bhagavatam was transferred from Vyasadeva to Shukadeva to himself. Okay. So these are the sections of the chapter. So we'll begin with the first verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So anyway, just to also revise the answers to the questions. So the answer to the first question is which was? Absolute and ultimate good. Yes, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yito Bhakti. Yes. Answer to the second question, essence of all the scriptures. Essence of all the scriptures. Answer? 1.2.28 and 29. Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Parayu, all that. So that is the answer to the second question. Answer to the third question. That of course mostly is there in the 10th canto, the purpose of the Lord's appearance. Fourth question. Fourth question is Gunavataras. No, Purushavatas. Of course, the Purushavatas are described here also, and it was also partly described in the second chapter from verses 30 to 33. There also the Purushavatas were described. And okay, so and then the Leela Avataras are here, and then the answer to the sixth question. Famous verse? Yes, Krishna Sudama Bhagati Dharma Jnana Adivisa. Okay, fine. So let's begin with the first verse. Okay, let's recite. Sutta uvacha jagre paurusham rupam bhagavan mahadadivi sambhutam shodasha kalam adau loka susrikshaya. Sutta said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus at first there was a creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universe. So this is about the first Purusha incarnation, and that is Mahavishnu. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada is describing in brief about the three Purusha avatars in the first paragraph. So a little further down in the middle of the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, there are three Purusha features in the material creation, and this form, who is known as the Karandaksha Vishnu, is the first of the three. The others are known as Garbhodaksha Vishnu and the Shirodaksha Vishnu, which we shall know one after another. The innumerable universes are generated from the skin holes of this Karandaksha Vishnu, and in each one of the universes the Lord enters as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada is speaking about the purpose of the material creation. So the chance to enjoy matter is given to the conditioned souls in the material world, and side by side they are given the chance to understand their real constitutional position. Okay, so this is the purpose of the material creation. So they are given a chance to enjoy this material world, or so-called enjoyments. It's not real enjoyment, but some enjoyment they can have. But at the same time, the main purpose is so that they can try to understand their constitutional position. And those fortunate living entities, I hope everyone has got where we are reading from. Those fortunate living entities who catch the truth and surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva after many, many births in the material world, join the eternally liberated souls and thus are allowed to enter into the kingdom of God. Okay, so Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So only some fortunate souls, they catch the truth, they understand the truth, the purpose of life, like all of you, very fortunate souls. So, and then one can join the eternally liberated souls in the kingdom of God. So this verse is speaking about Jagre Paurusham Rupam Bhagavan Mahat Adibi, the ingredients of the material world, which are Shodasha Kalam. Shodasha means 16 principles of the material worlds. So what are these 16 principles? Okay, 5 working senses. 5 knowledge acquiring senses. 5 Panchbhutas, 15 हो गया. तो 20 हो गया ना फिर. 16 are told here. Okay, so fortunately Prabhupada is telling, so there is no confusion. So further down in the purport, Prabhupada is saying, this Mahat Tattva contains all the ingredients of the material manifestation. So as we know, all the material ingredients in the inactive state, that is called as Pradhan. And then it becomes activated. Then as Prabhupada says, the Mahat Tattva is, when the creation is again set up, this Mahat Tattva is again let loose. So let loose means it's activated. It's activated. Then all the material ingredients are created. That's all a detailed discussion later on, second canto, third canto, This Mahatattva contains all the ingredients of the material manifestations, including the conditioned souls. Primarily, this Mahatattva is divided into 16 parts, namely the 5 gross material elements and 11 working instruments or senses. So what are these 11?
Mind plus 10.
Mind and 10 senses. Okay, the mind and the 10 senses, working senses, knowledge, mind senses, and the 5 gross material elements. So these are the 16. So it's like a cloud in the clear sky. In the spiritual sky, the effulgence of Brahman is spread all around, and the whole system is dazzling in spiritual light. The Mahatattva is assembled in some corner of the vast, unlimited spiritual sky, and the part which is thus covered by the Mahatattva is called the material sky. This part of the spiritual sky called the Mahatattva is only an insignificant portion of the whole spiritual sky, and within this Mahatattva there are innumerable universes. All these universes are collectively produced by Karnadaksha Vishnu, also called as Mahavishnu, who simply throws his glance to impregnate the material sky. So this is about Mahavishnu. So now the next verse is about Karnadaksha Vishnu. Yasyam bhasi shayanasya yoga nidram vitanvatah nabhiradham bujadasi brahma vishwa srujampati. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop the stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. Prabhupada translates Srujam as engineers. Interesting. So that all the engineers can understand and relate to it. So this is about Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, the Garbhodak Sagar is produced. What is this Garbhodak Sagar? Yes, the perspiration of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So we also have little perspiration. Maybe the kurta can get a little wet. So this is creation. So modern scientists cannot understand all this. Very difficult. But then this is how the creation actually takes place. And then from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, there is expansion of Shirodaksha Vishnu, who is the collective Paramatma of all living beings, is called Hari, and from him all incarnations within the universe are expanded. Further on, so we're going to the third paragraph. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Purusha is manifested in 3 features. So you can see, interestingly, Prabhupada is saying the Purusha is manifested in 3 features. Okay, so basically it is one Purusha manifesting in 3 features. So therefore, as we will see in the next purport, sometimes, therefore, Prabhupada uses Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu interchangeably. So because it doesn't make a big difference. It is the same Purusha, just like it is the same Paramatma who expands in the heart of every living entity, correct? One Paramatma expands into all the living entities. In all the atoms. Andantarastha, Paramanu, Chayantarastha. What is the analogy that is used to illustrate this? What's that?
Sun in the
Pots.
Yes. So the same sun, it may be reflected in different pots. Also, the other example, the same sun, you go 2000 kilometers from here, you will see same sun or different sun? It is the same sun, even if you go 2000 kilometers. It may appear as if it is different, but it is same. Okay? So like that, same Paramatma expanded in all the atoms, in all the hearts of all the living beings, same Paramatma is expanded. So like that, Purusha is expanded into 3 features. So it's not something totally different. So therefore, even if somebody says that Garbhodaksha Vishnu is Paramatma in all the hearts of all living, it's not wrong. Because it's one expansion, one thing which is expanded. Okay, so just different names based upon the function. So Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Garbha means like the womb. So the universe is like the womb from where all the living entities are produced and everything is produced. So therefore Garbhodakshar Vishnu. Shirodakshar Vishnu. Why Shira? Yes, Shirasakra. So therefore it is basically the nomenclature is based upon certain characteristics and certain functions, but then essentially the one Purushabda expands. So therefore one must not be surprised if we find sometimes Srila Prabhupada using these interchangeably. Okay? And then Prabhupada is explaining briefly about the creation in the next paragraph. The Mahavishnu lies down in some part of the spiritual sky by his own free will. Thus he lies on the ocean of Karana, from where he glances over his material nature, and the Mahatattva is at once created. Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, the material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. The seed of the tree is sown by the cultivator, and the tree or creeper in due course becomes manifested with so many fruits. Nothing can take place without a cause. So if you remember, in our discussions in the first verse, we had discussed about Upadan Karan, Nimitta Karan. Remember? So somebody remembers what is Upadan Karan, Nimitta Karan? Yes, bro.
Upadan Karan means one who supplies the basic ingredients.
So what is that?
So the Lord supplies the basic ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And then the secondary creator Brahma use that.
So who is the Nimitta Karan?
Sometimes it is mentioned the material nature, sometimes Mahatattva,
Okay, that is what?
Nimitta.
Of course, 1 month has passed, so.
Immediate cause.
Huh?
Upadan is the immediate cause.
Yes, Upadan Karan is the immediate cause. So what is the immediate cause?
Pradhan.
Yes, the Pradhan Mahatattva, which produces all the material elements, that is the immediate cause, Upadan Karan. And the Nimitta Karan is Mahavishnu, who glances over the Pradhan and then all the material elements. So Mahavishnu is the Nimitta Karan. So that's what he's saying over here. So when the creation is again set up, this Mahatattva, and then the Karana ocean is therefore called the causal ocean. Nothing can take place without a cause. Karana means causal. We should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. The description of the atheist is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The atheist does not believe in the creator, but he cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. So then they have all their speculated theories, Big Bang and what's that? Okay, Darwin's theory. So material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha, just as Prakriti or woman cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or man. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat, although they look like breastly nipples. So this is called as what? Aja Gala Stana Nyaya. So the gala means the neck of the goat. It appears as if it is stana, but then no milk comes out from there. So similarly, one cannot expect that the material nature creates on its own. So that is Prakriti, woman. There has to be man, Purusha. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha who impregnates Prakriti or nature. What is the other analogy in this connection? Thinking that material nature is the cause of creation. Yes. Tandula Vrishika Nyai. Prabhupada used this very often. Tandula means rice, Vrishika means scorpion. So it appears as if the scorpions come from the rice. But the fact is, what is the fact? Yes, the eggs were laid by the mother scorpion. So similarly, it appears as if material nature is the cause of this creation. But the fact is that unless the Supreme Lord, He glances, He impregnates, nothing else moves. Nothing moves without the glance of the Supreme Lord. Okay? So, because the Lord wished to lie down in meditation, the material energy created innumerable universes at once. In each of them, the Lord lay down, and thus all the planets and the different paraphernalia were created at once by the will of the Lord. Okay, fine. Now, third verse. So, this is now Shirodaksha Vishnu. Yasyavayava samsthane kalpito lokavistarah tadvai bhagavato rupam vishuddham sattvamurjitam. It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence. So this is of course the conception of the Virat Roop. This is the Virat Roop that is being mentioned over here. So the concept, as Prabhupada says, the conception of the Virat Roop or Vishwaroop of the Supreme Absolute Truth is especially meant for the neophyte who can hardly think of the transcendental form of the personality of Godhead. To him, a form means something of this material world, and therefore an opposite conception of the Absolute is necessary in the beginning to concentrate the mind on the power extension of the Lord. Okay, so this is basically the Virat Roop. We already discussed about the Virat Roop. So the Virat Roop is basically the manifestation of the Lord within the entire universe. So we had a whole discussion on whether the Virat Roop is material or spiritual. So what did Krishna show to Arjuna? So what is that, material or spiritual?
Material.
Actually, Krishna showed a material form to Arjuna on the battlefield. How can Krishna's form be material?
There are different purposes that Krishna uses to show Virat Roop. Here it is the whole creation, planetary systems are denoted by the Virat Roop, that is material.
Mhm.
Here Krishna shows that is spiritual, that purpose is different.
Okay, fine. So therefore, both are correct. The Virat Roop is material as well as spiritual. What is the analogy?
Electricity used for heating.
ठीक है, electricity. What is the precise analogy? Both material and spiritual. Which is the thing which is both material and spiritual? हाँ? अरे वो philosophy है. Example क्या?
Sometimes
Lord in fire.
micro.
The garland.
हाँ?
The garland that is
Whose garland? Ah, the deity. Is the deity material or spiritual? It's made up of what? It's made up of what?
Depend on the
It's
perception.
made of material elements, correct? But at the same time it is spiritualized. So therefore, yes, it's both material and spiritual. You can say it's both material and spiritual. So similarly, Prabhupada compares the Virat Roop to the deity form of the Lord. So just like that. It's made up of material elements, but at the same time, when Krishna wants to show it, then it's a form of the Lord, so it is spiritual.
But we don't worship the material elements.
Yes,
We worship the deities.
yes.
So, yes, this is more materialistic.
Okay, so the deity is made of material elements, so we don't worship some other material elements. Why not?
So we don't worship
We don't worship.
because that is properly installed in.
Yes. So because of a process that is done, then those material elements have become spiritualized. So because they have become spiritualized, therefore they have become worshipable. Correct. But we cannot worship any other material elements. Now we also had a whole discussion on the Shakti, Shaktimatayor Abheda. Correct. There is no difference between Shakti and Shaktiman. The car is Ford, but Ford is not the car. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. So fine. So this is the third verse is talking basically about the Virat Roop. And the fifth and the third verse and the fourth verse also. The fourth verse also, I'm just doing the translation. The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms and faces, all extraordinary. In that body there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and adorned with garlands. So you find a similar description of the Virat Roop in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita also. There also we see that how the Virat Roop is many divine garlands, it is said, Divya, Divya Mala. So divine garlands and divine helmets and everything is there. So Srila Prabhupada in his morning walks on the Juhu beach, so it's good to mention it here. So when Srila Prabhupada is going on his morning walks at Juhu beach, somewhere, Prabhupada is there for quite a long time here at Juhu. Sometime in those morning walks, Srila Prabhupada began reading of the Bhagavad Gita. How many of you have heard the morning walks, by the way? Just a curiosity question.
Some parts
Huh? Okay. Partial realization, but one should have complete realization. So if you hear them, then somewhere he begins the reading of the Bhagavad Gita. So a disciple would read the verses of Bhagavad Gita, and in between Srila Prabhupada would comment. And we know there was a very famous personality. Yes, Dr. Patel. And he had his Mayavad conceptions. And so Srila Prabhupada was always very enthusiastic to defeat Mayavad conceptions on those morning walks. And sometimes, there were heated arguments. So when this 11th chapter was going on, and then the devotee read this description of the Virat Roop having divine garlands and divine garments and helmets and so many other things. Then Srila Prabhupada immediately says, just see, even the Virat Roop has a form. The Vishwaroop also has a form. Otherwise, where will you put all these garlands and helmets and all that if there is no form? You'll put it in the sky somewhere. Where will you put? So Prabhupada is immediately taking his chance to defeat Mayavad. Okay, so this verse is talking about the Virat Roop, thousands of hands, legs and all that. Okay, and text 5. So the text 5 is Shirodaksha Vishnu. Etannanavtaranam nidhanam bijamavyayam yasyam shamshena srijyante devatiryan naradhaya. This form, the second manifestation of the Purusha, is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men and others are created. Okay, so this form, Etat means this form. Now Prabhupada, he puts second manifestation of the Purusha. Okay, but then what is said? Etat nana avataranam nidhanam. Nidhanam means the source. Source of innumerable avatars. So which of the Purusha avatars is responsible for the various incarnations? Shirodaksha Vishnu. But here he says second manifestation of Purusha. What is second manifestation? Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So this is the point. So therefore, whether you say Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Shirodaksha Vishnu, doesn't make a big difference because they're all expansions of the one Purusha avatar. Okay, so therefore it doesn't make a big difference. And so you'll find both the versions. So in the verse itself you'll find this difference, and in the purport also you will find this difference. And so therefore every time when we read this purport, somebody asks this question. So before somebody asks the question, I'm giving the answer. And again, Prabhupada in the purport, first of all, is describing about Garbhodaksha Vishnu. He filled half the universe with water from his own perspiration, laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodak. Then from his navel, the lotus sprouted, and then Brahma was born. And then further down he says, therefore all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, are incarnations of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Okay. Now, you go further down at the end of the paragraph, then there, Srila Prabhupada is saying, the Vishnu who is the plenary portion of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is the super soul of the universal life, and he is known as the maintainer of the universe, or Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So the three features of the original Purusha are thus understood. And all the incarnations within the universe are emanations from this Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So somebody will say in the verse it is said, second Purusha, that means Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. In the purport it is said, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So, therefore it doesn't make a big difference. Now, in the further part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the various types of avatars. Okay. And so now we'll have a discussion on these various types of avatars. So, you gave that document also?
Yes, we got.
You have it here? कहाँ? हाँ, दे दो. अच्छा आपने स्टेपल किया क्या? अच्छा ठीक है दे दो. Of course, Prabhupada speaks about these different avatars also in the purport to the 328s. Etechamsha Kalapamsa. There also Prabhupada talks about the various avatars. But since he is talking about here also, so we'll discuss this over here so that the Etechamsha verse we can discuss it. So now, Haji.
So first is Karmadakshaya Vishnu, then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then from that Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Correct.
And then you said all three Purusha avatars are.
See, so when we say, okay, Mahavishnu, then that expanded into Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then that expanded into Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So it does not mean that once upon a time there was Mahavishnu. Then after some years passed, then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu came. Then some years passed, and then Kshirodakshaya Vishnu came. It is not like that. All three always exist. Correct? Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is Paramatma. So, is there any time when Paramatma does not exist? It always exists. So, similarly, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, within every universe he is present. And how much time does the universe last from the point of view of Mahavishnu? One breath. With one exhalation, universe comes out. With an inhalation, universe goes in. And then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is there within that universe. So how much time is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu not there? So you see, it's totally insignificant. So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is also always there. And Mahavishnu is always there. So this is an important point to understand for all these various incarnations. Though we say that this is an expansion from this is an expansion from this is only for our understanding. But just like here. So now what it said, so there is Sri Krishna, who's Swayam Rupa, the original form. This is Vraja Krishna. Okay, the original form is Vraja Krishna in Vrindavan. And then there is the Vaibhav Prakash. Okay, the Vaibhav Prakash is Balaram. So we say, okay, Balaram is the first expansion of Krishna. So does it mean that Krishna was there and then after some time Balaram came? Is it like that?
Yes.
What yes? Okay, if you say yes, then you have to say how many years passed. What is the difference between them? When Krishna was there and then when Balaram came, after how many years he came?
We are not
So is there any point of time when Balaram did not exist? If you say he came after some time and you don't know that time, then is there a point of time when Balaram did not exist? What? Huh?
just apply mathematics limit T tends to 0.
But we say everything comes from Krishna means common Krishna means some point of time.
Correct. Some point of time. So which is that point of time?
That we can't define.
That you cannot know. So the point is that there is no point of time. So this is only for our understanding. Krishna is always there, Balaram is always there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always there. So we may say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is combined incarnation of Radha Krishna. So then when did they combine? So these are all eternal truths. But this is only for our understanding that we say, okay, this comes from this comes from this, so that we understand the hierarchy. So we understand the hierarchy. That's the only purpose. Otherwise, all these various incarnations are all eternal. Okay? Fine. So with that basic understanding, so we are seeing these various types of incarnations. So all of them are always present. So there is Swayam Rupa, that is Sri Krishna, then there is Vaibhav Prakash. So in the Vaibhav Prakash, what is written there below that? With different moods and bodily features. So between Balaram and Krishna, what is the difference? Yes, as Prabhupada mentioned, the only difference is color. So Balaram is like spring cloud. So just like now, you see some clouds. So they're all white clouds, spring cloud. And Krishna is monsoon cloud. And there's a difference in the mood. What is the difference in mood? Yes, Sevya Bhagwan and Sevak Bhagwan. So Balaram is Sevak Bhagwan. So there's a difference in mood. So that is the Vaibhav Prakash. And then he also expands into the Prabhav Prakash. So basically, okay, Krishna Swayam Prakash, two types, Vaibhav Prakash, Prabhav Prakash. So Prabhav Prakash expands to multiple forms with same features. Okay, so there, Vaibhav Prakash, there are different features. Here in Prabhav Prakash, it is same features. So example is the Rasa dance and Dwarka. Okay. Now this, all these incarnations are elaborately discussed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami. So we will simultaneously see a few quotes from Mahaprabhu's teachings. Just a second. Huh? So this is Madhya Lila, 20th chapter, text 165. Srila Rupa Goswami has described the Swayam Rupa in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita Purvakhand, verse 12, where it said, Ananya Pekshi Yad Rupam Swayam Rupa Sa Uchyate. The form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that does not depend on other forms is called Swayam Rupa, the original form. Okay, so Krishna is Swarat, he is totally independent. His form does not depend on other forms. So therefore that's the meaning of Swayam Rupa, okay, by definition. The form that does not depend on other forms. So he's totally independent. So the original form of the Lord Swayam Rupa is exhibited in two forms. Swayam Rupa and Swayam Prakash. Okay, Swayam Rupa and Swayam Prakash. In his original form as Swayam Rupa, Krishna is observed as cowherd boy in Vrindavan. Okay, so this cowherd boy is the original form. So that becomes difficult for many people to understand. How cowherd boy, original form? So for many people, therefore that becomes difficult. If you say Vishnu is original, that's more reasonable according to mundane logic. More opulent, isn't it? Vishnu form more opulent. So it becomes easier to understand, okay, he is the cause of everything else. But then how cowherd boy? That was what bewildered even Brahma. Even Brahma got bewildered. How this cowherd boy? He can be supreme. But that's the fact. Okay. So in his original form, Krishna manifests himself in two features, Prabhav and Vaibhav. So he expands his one original form into many as he did during the Ras Leela dance. And then when the Lord married 16,108 wives at Dwarka, he expanded himself into many forms. These expansions and the expansions of the Rasa dance are called as Prabhav Prakash, according to the directions of revealed scriptures. The Prabhav Prakash expansions of Lord Krishna are not like the expansions of the sage Saubhari. Had they been so, Narad would not have been astonished to see them. So the mystic yogis, they also can expand themselves, like Saubhari Rishi. So Saubhari Muni also, he expanded himself. And many of the mystic yogis, they can expand. Into how many forms they can expand? Yes, Prabhupada says 8 forms. But all the 8 forms do the same activity. They can't, each form cannot be doing a different activity. Same activity. But when Narad Muni went to these 16,108 palaces, what did he find?
Lord is different.
Yes, in every palace the Lord is doing different activity. That was so astonishing to Narad. So Narad would go to one palace, then he would see that the Lord is doing some activity. And then when he would go to another palace, then the Lord would welcome Narad as if he's seeing him for the first time. In every palace he went, every time the Lord would welcome Narad as if he's seeing for the first time. As if he's a totally different personality. Has nothing to do with all the other person. So that's how he behaved, like a totally different personality in each of the palaces. That was so astonishing to Narad. And then it is described that when Krishna would go to the Sudharma assembly hall, then what would happen? Yes, all the forms would merge into one. And then one form would go. And then again when he would return, again he expanded himself. So who can do this? No yogi, no person can do this. This is the extraordinary mystic opulence of Krishna. So therefore even Narada was astonished.
Holy, there were 16,000 Vasudeva and Devaki also.
16,000 Vasudeva?
In every palace there were Vasudeva and Devaki.
Achha. Where is this mentioned?
I think Krishna.
You think, but is it actually there?
When he got married, 16,100 at that time.
Okay, maybe that because so all the marriages happened at the same time. So that time it is possible, but were they always there?
That is mentioned in Bhagavad, not always.
In Krishna book it is mentioned when Lord Krishna was going to so Dharma Sabha, then it is, at that very spot I think it is mentioned that there were so many sets of parents also.
Okay, so accepting what you say is true, even if it were true, I don't know, we have to confirm it. But even if you say it is true, what is so surprising? Just like when Krishna went to these two personalities' houses. Yeah, Baulashva and Shrutadev. So he went with so many sages. Then what happened? Yes, he made two sets. One set went here, one set went there. So if Krishna wants, he can empower someone to expand. What is the big deal there? If Krishna wants, he can empower.
Regarding Sauri Muni, he has converted into 50 forms.
For what he expanded to 50?
For getting married.
See, he presented himself as a very beautiful person to all the princesses. But then did he expand into 50 forms? Yeah, he married all the 50, that is correct. But where is it mentioned that he expanded into? So you have to show reference. Huh? You show reference, we'll accept.
This I had little doubt regarding the word Prabhav and Vaibhav. This when we say Vaibhav, there is always a change from the root one, and Prabhav means same as the root one and expanding in same forms. So when we say the Dwarka forms of 16,108 queens, so that can be, how it can be the Prabhav Prakash?
What's the problem?
Because the mode is different.
Which mode is different?
Means when you say the original cowherd boy and then the Dwarka Krishna, the mode is different. So that's how.
So?
Means logically it should be the Prabhav form of the Vaibhav Prakash.
See, we don't understand your logic, but whatever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is presenting, we are presenting.
But Prabhuji, that mode is different.
Okay, so
Because here that word, that original cowherd boy, the word was that used.
okay, so the original cowherd boy is expanding himself into all these other forms.
Because we say also now that the Krishna when expanded with this in the Rasa dance, that Krishna and this Dwarka Krishna is different.
Yes. It's different.
So how that Dwarka Krishna Prabhav Prakash forms can be the...
See, the basic point is that the Lord is expanding himself into similar forms. There is no doubt there's a difference between Vrindavan Krishna and Dwarka Krishna. But that is not the point. The point is what? All the expansions are similar. All the expansions in the Rasa dance are similar. All the expansions in the palaces are similar. They may be doing different activities, but their external features, everything is similar. But in Vaibhav Prakash, there is a difference in the external features.
So means again the Prabhav form of the Vaibhav Prakash. Because Prabhav Vilas also comes. That is also the same expansion. Means all expansions are same.
See, the basic understanding is this. Now, as far as terminology is concerned, if you ask why this terminology here, why this terminology, there's no logic there. You get the point? I cannot analyze these words and give you a satisfactory answer. Why specifically these terminologies are in use? Anybody has an answer to this? Okay, Prabhu has.
But he's asking about modes are different. But actually, as you mentioned, Krishna has the mode of Savior Bhagavan. When he expands his Dwarka days, still he has the mode of Savior Bhagavan.
Correct.
Not with Savior Bhagavan.
Correct.
In that terms, modes are the same.
Yes. The mode is, yes, the form, one is Aishwarya form and one is Madhurya form, correct? The Vrajendra Krishna is Madhurya form, this is Aishwarya form in Dwarka. But as Prabhu is saying, that is correct. As far as the mode of Savior Bhagwan is concerned, is always Savior Bhagwan, is always Bhagwan. Though there is a slight difference. Okay. Okay, now going back to your table there. So then the next is Tadekatma Rupa. Tadekatma Rupa forms. Now these are expansions with different moods, bodily features. So okay, let's read from here. The Tadekatma Rupa forms are also described in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Purvakand verse 14. Yad Rupam Tad Abhedena Swarupena Virajate Akrityadibhir Anyadrik Sa Tad Ekatma Rupaka. The Tad Ekatma Rupa forms exist simultaneously with the Swayam Rupa form and are non-different. At the same time, their bodily features and specific activities appear to be different. Okay, so ultimately see, here also is mentioning, they're all simultaneously present with the Swayam Rupa form, that is Krishna, the original Krishna. All the forms are simultaneously present. So, but at the same time, their bodily features and specific activities appear to be different. So there's a slight difference, bodily features, activities, but they're all present simultaneously. So they're divided into two categories, the Swamsha and the Vilas. Okay, so you can see that there's Swamsha and there's Vilas.
What is the difference between Vaibhav Prakash and Tadekatma Rupa?
What is the
Difference between Vaibhav Prakash and Tadekatma Rupa?
See here, as we can see in the Vaibhav Prakash, these Balaram, that's basically Balaram, right? Vaibhav Prakash is Balaram. So Balaram is said to be the first expansion. He is the one who is the most intimate servitor of Krishna. And so then from him, all these other expansions come. All these other expansions come from him. So therefore, in the diagram, you can see that. So from Balaram, all the incarnations, they expand from Balaram. So therefore, sometimes it is also said that all incarnations come from Balaram. Correct? From Shirodaksha Vishnu, they descend into the material world. Okay? From Shirodaksha Vishnu, they descend into the material world. But all the incarnations are basically expansions of Balaram. So that is what you can see over here. And so all of them also have different bodily features and modes different from Swayam Rupa. That is the point that is making here. The Tadekatma Rupa forms exist simultaneously with the Swayam Rupa form and are not different. Therefore, what is the Brahma Samhita saying? Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedeshu dullabam adullabam atma bhakta govindamadi. But Advaitam achyutam anadi ananta rupam. They are all what? Advaita. Advaita means non-different. Advaita, non-different. So the same point is made, non-different. Okay, so they're non-different in the sense that they're all basically expansions of the same Swayam Rupa. And more specifically, okay, they're expansions of Balaram. But then again, they're all existing simultaneously. And so therefore, in one sense, they're all non-different. But at the same time, there are some different. Therefore, you can see, so he says simultaneously, they are non-different, but at the same time, there is some difference. Okay, so at the same time, there's some difference in the bodily features and the specific activities. Okay. Now, if one form or feature is differently manifested according to different emotional features, it is called as Vaibhav Prakash. So once again, he is defining Vaibhav Prakash, that is Balaram. So there's a difference in emotional features. We already said that. Sevya Bhagwan, Seva Bhagwan. Okay, this is a little bit of repetition. When the Lord expands himself in innumerable forms, there is no difference in the forms, but your different features, bodily colors, and weapons, the names are different. Okay, so the difference is only because, as we'll be seeing in this Prabha Vilas, Vaibhav Vilas, so you can see there are 24 forms in the Vaibhav Vilas, which basically depends upon the position of the different weapons and whatever Lord Vishnu holds, the Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. Based upon the positions of these, the various names are given. When that body is a little differently manifested and its features are a little different in transcendental emotion and form, it is called as Tat Ekatma Rupa. Okay. When the Lord displays numerous forms with different features by his inconceivable potency, such forms are called as Vilasa Vigrahas. When the Lord displays numerous forms with different features, so there's some different features, so they're called as Vilasa Vigrahas. So all this is happening by his inconceivable potency. Now, when a form of Krishna is non-different from the original form, but is less important and exhibits less potency, it is called Swamsha. So this is what differs. So sometimes the mood differs, sometimes the potency differs. So they are all Advaitam, they're all not different, but still there is some difference in the mood, in the importance, in the potency. So this is what differences are there. So when the form of Krishna, it is the form of Krishna only. But then, so it's not different from the original form. But then when there is less potency, it is called as Swamsha. Wait, we're coming to that. Examples of Swamsha expansions can be found in the quadruple forms of the Lord residing in their respective places, beginning with Shankarshan, Vasudev, Pradyumna and Anuruddha, and also in the Purushavataras, Leela Avataras, Manvantara Avataras and Yuga Avataras. Okay? So all these are examples of Swamshas.
In the diagram it is mentioned Prabha Vilas, this quadruples are mentioned. But here in the assumption it is quadruples.
So here basically he is saying that, see, basically these are also different avataras only. Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. So they also can be counted. Well, Swamsha basically means what? Different Vishnu forms.
Less potent.
Yes, less potent. So they're all Swamshas, isn't it? Vishnu Tattva. All Vishnu Tattvas are called Swamshas. Correct? So basically even Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha, Vasudeva, all of them are Swamshas only in one sense. So Sri Balaram is a Vaibhav Prakash manifestation of Krishna. He is also manifested in the original quadruple expansions of Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha. These are the Prabha Vilas expansions with different emotions. Okay, so these are the Prabha Vilas expansion, the first quadruple expansion. So that is basically Balaram. So Balaram expands himself into Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. And so these are called as the Prabha Vilas expansions. And from the original quadruple expansions, 24 forms are manifested. They differ according to the placements of the weapons in their four hands. They're called as Vaibhav Vilas. Okay, so first there is the first quadruple expansion. Then from the first quadruple expansion, from the Shankarshan of the first quadruple expansion, there is Narayan. And then the Narayan, from Narayan, there is the second quadruple expansion. So, and this, the second quadruple expansion, as you can see in the diagram here, in Vaibhav Vilas, so it is mentioned, the second set of Chaturvyuha forms presiding over the four directions, 3 expansions from each one of the original Chaturvyuha forms, each presiding over one of the 12 months, and additional 2 Vilas Murti forms, each one of the original Chaturvyuha expansions, making a total of 24 primary Vaibhav Vilas expansions. Just one second, did I put this correct? Somebody can quickly open Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, so I'm reading from Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 6. The chapter is entitled, His Forms Are One and the Same. That's the title of the chapter itself. His forms are one and the same. So therefore they're all non-different. Quite interesting. Prabhupada begins this chapter by saying, by devotional service one can understand. So if one wants to understand all this, only devotee can understand, by devotional service. That Krishna first of all manifests himself as Swayam Rupa, his personal form, then as Tadegatma Rupa, then as Avesha Rupa. So he's saying that basically he expands himself into these three features. So that, of course, first is the Swayam Rupa, and then there's his personal form, then Tadegatma Rupa, and then as Avesha Rupa. It is in these three features that he manifests himself in his transcendental form. The feature of Swayam Rupa is the form by which Krishna can be understood by one who may not understand his other features. The feature of Swayam Rupa is the form by which Krishna can be understood by one who may not understand his other features. In other words, the form by which Krishna is directly understood is called Swayam Rupa, or his personal form. The Tadekatma Rupa is that form which most resembles the Swayam Rupa, but there are some differences in the bodily feature. Okay, so the Tadegatma Rupa, so that also resembles the original form, but still there are some differences. The Tadekatma Rupa is divided into two manifestations, the personal expansion, that is Swamsha, and the pastime expansion, that is Vilas. Okay? So you can see the diagram. So Swamsha, that is personal expansion, and the pastime expansion, that is Vilas. As far as the Avesha Rupa is concerned, when Krishna empowers some suitable living entity to represent him, that living entity is called as Avesha Rupa or Shaktivesh Avatar. Now, the personal form of Krishna can be divided into two, Swayam Rupa and Swayam Prakash. Okay? As far as the Swayam Rupa or the pastime form is concerned, it is in that form that he remains always in Vrindavan with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This personal form, Swayam Rupa, can be further divided into Prabhav and Vaibhav forms. For example, Krishna expanded himself in multiple forms during the Rasa dance in order to dance with each and every gopi who took part in that dance. Similarly, he expanded himself into 16,108 forms in Dwarka when he married 16,108 wives. There are some instances of great mystics expanding their bodily forms with the yoga process, but Krishna did not expand himself in that way. In Vedic history, Saubhari Rishi expanded himself into 8 forms by the yoga process. Okay, Prabhu? Not 50 forms. 8 forms. But those expansions were simply reflections, for Saubhari remained one. So they were like reflections. So you know reflection? Pratibimb, reflection. So what happens to the reflection?
Same action.
Yes, the reflection cannot do something different from the original, right? So if I raise my hand, the reflection in the mirror will also do the same thing. You can't do something different. So that is how the yogis, when they expand themselves, they do exactly the same activities. They can't do something different. But in the case of Krishna, every form is doing something different. But when Krishna manifested himself in different forms, each and every one of them was a separate individual. When Narad Muni visited Krishna at different palaces in Dwarka, he was astonished at this. And yet Narada is never astonished to see the expansions of a yogi's body, since he knows the trick himself. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Narada Muni's astonishment at seeing Krishna's expansions in Dwarka. Narada wondered how the Lord was present with his queens in each and every one of his 16,100 palaces. With each queen, Krishna was himself in a different form, acting in different ways. In one form, he was talking with his wife. In another form, he was petting his children. In another form, he was performing some household duty. These different activities are conducted by the Lord when he is in his emotional forms. Prabhupada is writing emotional forms, which are known as Vaibhav Prakash expansions. That's interesting. So you see, all these are so interchangeable. So after telling all this, Prabhupada says, this is Vaibhav Prakash. So therefore, to understand God, first of all, you have to understand it's all inconceivable. Similarly, there are other unlimited expansions of Krishna's form, but even when they're divided or expanded without limit, they're still one and the same. They expanded into unlimited forms, but they're still one and the same. How to understand? So many expansions, but they're still one and the same. There is no difference between one form and another. Just now we said there are differences, correct? Just now we said each form is different from the other form. Each one is like separate individual. Then again he says there is no difference. Yes, it's all achintya. And therefore the conclusion Prabhupada is saying, that is the absolute nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everything is absolute, non-different. So even though there are some differences, and we can give some name, Vaibhav Prakash, Prabhu Prakash, this, that. So we can do all this analysis just to get some understanding. But the whole thing is totally inconceivable. All of them are non-different, yet there are some differences. Okay, so if you try to apply logic, so Prabhu was asking, Vaibhav Prakash, Prabhu Prakash, why this name here, why this name there? Now here you see Prabhupada is using them interchangeably. Now what you see?
Maybe mistake.
Huh?
Maybe a mistake. Because later in the next paragraph, Prabhupada writing Balramji is Vaibhav Prakash. Further paragraph. And his Vaibhav Prakash feature Lord manifests himself as Balram. That Balram feature is good in Krishna. So that may be Prabhav Prakash and mistake over there.
Anyways, whatever it is, all the expansions are present simultaneously. But anyways, for our academic study, so we can accept these definitions, okay, as we see over here. Okay. Also, he is giving an example of when Akrura was accompanying Krishna and Balaram from Gokul to Mathura, he entered the waters of the Yamuna river and could see all the planets of the spiritual sky. He also the Lord in his Vishnu form. So, okay. Okay, then further down, Prabhupada is writing, in his Vaibhav Prakash feature, the Lord manifests himself as Balaram. The Balaram feature is as good as Krishna himself, the only difference being that Krishna's bodily hue is blackish, Balaram is whitish. The Vaibhav Prakash form was also displayed when Krishna appeared. Okay, this is another interesting point. The Vaibhav Prakash form was also displayed when Krishna appeared before his mother Devaki in the four-handed form of Narayan, just when he entered the worlds. Okay, so the four-handed form that Krishna manifested to Vasudeva and Devaki, that is four-handed form. That is what? That is Vaibhav Prakash. Now what logic you will apply here? So Balaram is Vaibhav Prakash, he is two-handed form. Now this four-handed form is also called Vaibhav Prakash. And then the two-handed form is Vaibhav Prakash, And the four-handed form is Prabhu Prakash. So initially when Krishna manifested to Vasudeva and Devaki, manifested as four-handed form. So that four-handed form is Prabhu Prakash. And then he changed himself into two-handed form. So that is called as Vaibhav Prakash. In his personal form, Krishna is just like cowherd boy, and he thinks of himself in that way. But when he is in the Vasudeva form, that's four-handed form, he thinks of himself as the son of a Kshatriya and feels like a Kshatriya, a princely administrator. Okay, so therefore, that's like a difference in the mood. Therefore, that is Prabhu Prakash. Now, there are also forms of Krishna that are a little different from his original form, and these are called as Tadekatma Rupa forms. These may further divide into the Vilas and the Swamsha forms, which in turn have many different features and can be divided into Prabhav and Vilas forms. As far as the Vilas forms are concerned, there are innumerable Prabhav Vilasas headed by Krishna's expansions as Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha. Sometimes the Lord thinks of himself as a cowherd boy, and sometimes he thinks of himself as Vasudev's son, a Kshatriya prince. And this thinking of Krishna is called as pastimes. This thinking of Krishna, he thinks differently. So he's thinking as cowherd boy. When he thinks himself to be a Kshatriya, then that form is Vasudeva form. It is the same form, but basically it is a different mood, different thinking. That is all that has changed. So further on Prabhupada writes, actually he is in the same form in his Vaibhav Prakash and Prabhu Vilas. But he appears differently as Krishna and Balram. His expansions as Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha are the original Chaturvi or the four-armed forms. There are innumerable four-armed manifestations in different planets and different places. For instance, they are manifested in Dwarka and Mathura eternally. Okay, all these forms are there eternally in Dwarka, Mathura. From the four original four-handed forms are manifested the 24 principal four-armed forms, which are called as Vaibhav Vilas. Everyone is following to some extent at least? What's happening? Of course, it's good if you go back and read it once again, then you can make out something. They are named differently according to the placement of conch, club, lotus and disc in their hands. The same four principal manifestations of Krishna are found on each planet in the spiritual sky, known as Narayan Loka or Vaikuntha Loka. Which four principal manifestations? Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha. They are present where? In the Vaikuntha planets. They are found on each planet in the spiritual sky. That is Vaikuntha Loka. In Vaikuntha Loka, Krishna is manifested in four-handed form of Narayan. Very important point. Therefore, many times Prabhupada would say, Vishnu, Krishna, not much difference. Not much difference. So what Prabhupada is writing here? In Vaikuntha Loka, Krishna is manifested in the four-handed form. It's the same Krishna. Advaitam, non-different forms. Same Krishna is manifesting in a slightly different form, different mode. It is the same Krishna. So therefore there is not big difference. Though we know, therefore, again, the other example, Brahma Samhita. Which is the other example? One candle, other candles. Now if you have 100 candles lit at the same time, do you find any difference? Can you find any difference? No, you can't find any difference. They all look to be the same. But still there is one origin, the first candle. So it's like that. From each Narayan, From each Narayan are manifested the forms of Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. Thus Narayan is the center and the four forms of Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha surround the Narayan form. Okay? So in each Vaikuntha planet there is one Narayan. From each Narayan all these four forms are there. Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha. Okay? Now each of these four forms again expands into three. These four, which four? Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha. Each of them expands into three. Total kitna ho gaya? 12. And these all have different names beginning with Keshav. Keshav then? Keshav, Narayan, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnave, Madhusudana, Trivikramaya, Vamanaya, Sridhara, Rishikesh, Padmanabha, Damodar. So these are the 12 forms that expand from these four. So these are the 12 months. So this Damodar that is spoken of here, this Damodar, when we talk of the months or while applying tilak, that Damodar is not the Damodar Krishna in Vrindavan. This is what? This is where? This is Vaikuntha. This is Vaikuntha form. Okay, so we should not mistake when we speak of Damodar, whether it is the Damodar month. So in Damodar month, the Damodar Leela takes place. But the Damodar month is representing the Damodar form in Vaikuntha, which is a four-handed form. Is this clear? Maybe a new revelation, huh? Others, mostly maybe everyone thinks it's the same thing. Damodar month, Damodar Leela, it is same. No, it is not the same. They are known by different names according to the placement of the symbols in their hands. As far as Vasudeva form is concerned, now each of these, which are these? So it's in sequence. From Vasudeva form, there are three expansions. So the first three, which are the first three? Keshava, Narayan, Madhava. So these are from Vasudeva. I think so we should ask this in the exam, no? All this. And it will be so nice to have some multiple choice questions. Vasudeva, Shankarshan. You can have all the 12 names. Multiple choice. Everyone will see multiple stars. Okay. Then the next is Shankarshan. Okay. Three forms from Shankarshan are next three. So after Madhava is what? Govinda, Vishnu, and Sri Madhusudan. Now again, Prabhupada writes here specifically, it should be noted that this Govinda is not the same Govinda manifested in Vrindavan as the son of Nanda Maharaj. Okay. So here also this Govinda, either while applying tilak or Govinda month, is the Vishnu form in Vaikuntha. Okay. Similarly, from Pradyumna expand three forms. What are the next three? After Madhusudana. Then Trivikrama, Vamana, Sridhara. And then three forms from Anuruddha, Rishikesh, Padmanabha and Damodar. So then now we go to the next chapter. We'll just complete the discussion, take a break. Huh?
Now we become 24, 20.
Hold on. So now we're going to the next chapter. The discussion is basically continuing. According to the Vaishnava Almanac, the 12 months of the year are named according to the 12 Vaikuntha forms of Lord Krishna. Vaikuntha forms of Lord Krishna. So they're all expansions of Krishna. And these forms are known as the predominating deities for 12 months. This calendar begins with the month of Margashirsha, that is the Vedic name, which is equivalent to late November and early December. The Vaishnavas call this month as Keshava, and then December, January is called Narayan. So Prabhupada is giving that whole list of all the months. And then Prabhupada is again specifically writing, this Damodar is different from the Damodar in Vraja. The name Damodar was given to Krishna when he was born with Rose by his mother. But the Damodar form, who is the predominating deity of the month of October, November, is a different manifestation. Okay? So please remember these points. And just as the months of the year are known according to the 12 different names of the Supreme Lord, members of the Vaishnava community mark 12 parts of the body according to these names. Prabhupada mentioned that. Now those, so especially Brahmanas, Pujaris, who do full Achman. Some of you may be doing full Achman. Anybody does full Achman? So then, when you do the full Achman, so in the Achman also it is the same names, correct? Keshav, Narayan, Madhavaya, it's the same names. And so there also you find it goes up to Damodar. But then there are further after Damodar also, right? When you do the full Achman. So now we will see that how all those names are actually all these Vishnu forms. So now, Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Anuruddha expand in 8 additional Vilas Murtis. Okay, so they expand into 8. That means each one expands into another 2. So their names are Purushottam, Achyuta, Narasimha, Janardhan, Hari, Krishna, Adokshaja and Upendra. Okay, so in that Achman all these names come. Adokshaja and Purushottam are the Vilas forms of Vasudev. Upendra and Achyuta are the Vilas forms of Shankarshan. Narasimha and Janardhan are the Vilas forms of Pradyumna, and Hari and Krishna the Vilas forms of Aniruddha. Again Prabhupada writes, this Krishna is different from the original Krishna. So all these are what? Vishnu forms. They're all 400 Vishnu forms. So you hear Narasimha is also coming. But this Narasimha is what? 400 Vishnu form. Not the Narasimha who manifests from the pillar. This is an eternal Vishnu form. And of course, the Bhagavatam mentions that actually Prahlad Maharaj initially was worshipping basically Vishnu form. So originally he was not worshipping this Narasimha who appeared as half man, half lion. This was not the form that he was worshipping. He was worshipping Vishnu, Krishna. I think this comes in the 3rd chapter of the 7th canto.
This Krishna he's worshipping.
Original
Krishna he's worshipping.
He is worshipping Vishnu form.
Vishnu Krishna here is mentioned.
Yeah.
Not original Krishna.
So of course, Krishna, Vishnu, not much different. Okay, so there are, how many forms we have discussed so far?
20.
So there are 12 and plus 8, 20. And the original 4? 24. Understood how there are 24? Okay. Original 4, Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, Anuruddha. Each of them expands first into 3 each. That is 12. So 12 and 4, 16, and plus another 8. That is total of 24. So these 24 forms, the 4 original Vishnu forms, the 12 Vaikuntha forms, and the 8 Vilas Murtis mentioned above are known as the Vilas manifestations of the Prabhav form. So therefore you see first there is Prabhav Vilas and then there is Vaibhav Vilas. So these are named, they are known as the Vilas manifestations of the Prabhav form. And they are named differently according to the position of the symbolic representation, that is Shankar Chankra Gadar Padma. Out of these 24 Vilas forms, some are Vaibhav forms, such as Pradyumna, Trivikrama, Vamana, Hari and Krishna, which have different features. So thus, Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyumna, and Ruddra are Prabha Vilas forms of Krishna, and there are total of 20 further variations. All these have Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky and are situated in 8 different directions. Although each of them resides eternally in the spiritual sky, some of them nonetheless appear in the material world also. In the spiritual sky, all the planets dominated by the Narayan feature are eternal. The topmost planet in the spiritual sky is called Krishnaloka, which is divided into 3 portions: Gokul, Mathura, and Dwarka. In the Mathura portion, the form of Keshava is always situated. He is represented on this earthly planet in Mathura, India, where the Keshava Murti is worshipped. Similarly, there is a Purushottam form in Jagannath Puri in Orissa. And in the Anandaranya, there is a form of Vishnu. And in Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, there is a form of Hari. Many other forms are also situated in various places on the earth. Not only in this universe, but in all other universes as well, these forms of Krishna are distributed everywhere. It is indicated that this earth is divided into 7 islands, which are the 7 continents. Every island there are similar forms. Right? So you can see this in the 5th canto also. You find in each of those islands there is a specific form that is worshipped. And then further on, Prabhupada says, these forms of Krishna are distributed throughout the world and throughout the universes to give pleasure to the devotees. It is not that devotees are born only in India. There are devotees in all parts of the world, but they have simply forgotten their identity. These forms incarnate not only to give pleasure to the devotees, but to re-establish devotional service and perform other activities which vitally concern the soul. Okay, and then Prabhupada is elaborately describing from a scripture known as the Siddhartha Samhita. There's a description of the 24 forms of Vishnu, and these forms are named according to the position of the symbols in the 4 hands. So then he describes each one of them. What is the position of the various symbols? Okay, so whole discussion in this. And then there are the Swamshas, 6 kinds of incarnations. Purushavataras, Leelavataras, Gunavataras, Manvantara Yugavataras, and Shaktaveshavatas. Okay, and then finally he says, we can conclude there is no end to the expansions and incarnations of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya describes some of them to Sanatana, just to give him an idea of how the Lord expands and how he enjoys. These conclusions are confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.26. There it is said that there is no limit to the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, just there is no limit to the waves of the ocean. Okay, fine. So, some more details are there. We will continue after that. Take a 10 minutes break and continue. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.